Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wheel to Wheel podcast brought to you by AbsoluteMotorsport.com and the Alloy TV. I'm Joshua Till, and joining me today is James Casey and James Baker. How are you guys today?
Not too bad.
Good.
Well, let's get on then with reviewing the 2018 Bahrain Grand Prix, what we're all here to talk about. Sebastian Vettel taking the win from Valtteri Bottas, Lewis Hamilton completing the podium, coming from ninth on the grid. Pierre Gasly, what a result that was for Toro Rosso and Honda in fourth. Magnussen was fifth for Haas. And it's Hulkenberg, Alonso, Van Dorn, Ericsson for his first points in absolutely ages in ninth place, and Esteban Ocon rounding out the top 10. But yeah, let's go back towards the top of the top 10. And of course, Sebastian Vettel. What a win, James Casey. Got to be among his best, surely.
Yeah, I thought it was an incredibly impressive drive from Vettel to make those soft tyres last so long at that pace. It was a fantastic job. I think, to be honest, once he committed to going to the end, once Ferrari changed that strategy, I think he would have probably taken second and just made sure that he still gained points on Hamilton. But to be able to stay ahead of Bottas and not really be under too much threat, it was only like the last couple of laps. Yeah, I thought it was an incredible job from Vettel. Fantastic pace and fantastically managed. And yeah, really did a fantastic job there.
And Baker, do you think Valtteri Bottas should have won this race?
I mean, he had his chance, to be honest with you, but it was a bit touch and go on those tyres, as we keep saying. I mean, those tyres shouldn't have gone that long. You know, apparently the mediums are only supposed to go, was it maximum 39 laps or 40 laps or whatever the hell it was? So if you could take the softs that long was a major effort, but it's not something we've seen it before from Vettel, let's be honest. 2011 season, when those tyres were so bad, he still managed to get the best out of them. I mean, the whole start of Pirelli and stuff like that, he was just quality on his tyres. But yeah, Bottas were a little bit hard done by, I think. It was a little bit touch and go on the final lap. If he'd have gone for it, I feel like it probably would have been a plane crash. So yeah, I don't know, but he can't be too disheartened. He managed to close right up to Vettel in the end, and promising, but again, not what he would have wanted, definitely.
Yeah, I think Bottas really needed to win this one, to be honest, with Hamilton out of the picture after his grid penalty and a bit of a poor qualifying. I think this is a bit of a missed opportunity, to be honest, from Bottas. I mean, I think Toto Wolff said there was a 9% chance they were going to win it after the first pit stops, and Vettel thought it was checkmate as well. So really, I think Bottas probably should have won this one, and I think he's going to regret it. But let's see how he responds. Up next, of course, where he had his kind of big spin last year. So yeah, work to be done for Bottas. Casey, what do you think make of Bottas's race, and also his teammate, of course, Lewis Hamilton, including a triple overtake coming from ninth on the grid to third?
Yeah, I think Bottas, overall, I think he did a reasonably good job, just apart from that last little bit of the race. I think he did a good job throughout, and then I think he should have closed up to Vettel, tried to push a bit harder, close up to him a little bit sooner, just give himself more time to do the overtake. But overall, I think it was a decent performance from Bottas. But yeah, just that killer instinct was missing. And Hamilton, yeah, he did a solid job. Yeah, that triple overtake was really good. That's the kind of what Hamilton always surprises me about him. He doesn't do that much overtaking, obviously being at the front a lot of the time. But when he does have to do it, he's as clinical as he ever was. So that was really good. But I think he lost his head a little bit with this whole target lap time thing. And ultimately, I think that cost him a shot of being just a little bit closer to that win.
And he, of course, wasn't very happy with certain Max Verstappen, James Baker. What did you make of that incident with Verstappen?
Yeah, to be honest, having looked at the move, and you've seen it, social media has just exploded with the opinion of what that all was all about. But to be honest with you, Fernando Alonso was the car ahead of them at that time. Verstappen didn't really have to make that move then. He could have waited a fair bit longer, because I know it's obviously you're so desperate to get past the Mercedes and whatnot, but a bit risky. He saw Fernando Alonso in front of him. I mean, it's hardly a guy who's not going to, it's really difficult to say, but he put Hamilton well out of road. Hamilton gave him all the space in the world. He couldn't give him more space, but Verstappen, being that opportunistic person, who does need to prove himself this season, going for that overtake. It's a big statement. The comments after the race, though, is probably the best thing about all of this, in the sense, I'm not going to repeat what was said, definitely not, but he wasn't very pleased with Verstappen, let's just say that, and it got a bit heated in the driver's press conference afterwards with a Dutch journalist, I believe, as well, and Vettel came to the rescue and sorted that all out. So, yeah, it's nice to see that, but I guess that's what F1's all about, all this controversy. This is what we're here for, so...
Yeah, I mean, Verstappen very much at this stage kind of reminds me of what Hamilton was like in the start of his F1 career. You kind of know that, they're going to go and win championships in the future, but very much their kind of racecraft is still a bit rough around the edges. So let's keep an eye on that one with Verstappen. I think, Red Bull, of course, as well, not the fastest car. So that both him and Ricciardo are really kind of reaching for those final few tenths to kind of make it up themselves. But yeah, what a miserable day, though, for Red Bull, Casey. I mean, yeah, Ricciardo as well, retiring at pretty much the same point that Verstappen got the puncture. Nightmare.
Yeah, that was pretty disastrous for them. Obviously, Ricciardo having a puncture and then, Ricciardo pulling over at exactly the same point. And, yeah, I mean, going into the weekend, they had a tough time in Australia. Obviously got some points at least out of that. They would have really been hoping to be in that podium fight and hoping for a victory as well. But I get the impression that this is just another slow start to the season for Red Bull. I think the car is pretty close, but I think they're they're at that point where they're just a little bit off the pace, and also they haven't got their reliability. So, yeah, it's going to be tough for them to win the championship now. A lot of work needs to be done, especially if they end up losing engine units from this problem. I'm not sure if they will, though.
Yeah, I'll have to answer on that one. But I mean, I think behind McLaren in the constructors, so that's pretty embarrassing, isn't it, really, for Red Bull? Talking about someone related to Red Bull and someone that certainly did not have an embarrassing Sunday was Pierre Gasly, fourth place for Toro Rosso Honda. Honda's best result in this hybrid era. So yeah, Baker, a really good job from Gasly and the whole Toro Rosso team after a fairly kind of an ominous Melbourne.
It was a very, very good performance. Very well controlled from Gasly, to be honest. Didn't put a foot wrong that race, but I did, to be fair, say, he must have been so nervous in that race, just making sure that Honda just gets him to the line, because he's fourth the whole race. And there were points in that race, to be honest, where people should have thought about maybe he could get on the podium. Like, it wasn't completely out the question, parts of that race, because there was so much that could have happened that if it did happen, he would have been right on there. And there was no, he kept Magnussen at bay that whole race. And to be honest, keeping that Haas behind and the nature of Magnussen as a driver, it was pretty good effort from Gasly. He never really got into any dangers with anybody. To be honest, people should have rated his start, because his start wasn't that bad at all. I think he damn well nearly got around the outside of Ricciardo into turn 2. So, he's no pushover, Gasly, and it's a very promising sign. But it was the talking point for Toro Rosso going into the weekend was they were getting these this package coming into Bahrain, and they said, "Oh, it's only a small package. We don't expect a lot of performance from it." But that was the biggest boost of a performance that a Honda has seen in Formula One since they joined back. It was such a good effort from the team, and not really rule out Hartley as well. It's a bit of a shame that he got that 10-second stop-go penalty, but I'm sure he will go fighting again pretty soon, and hopefully he does get his first points in Formula One.
Yeah, obviously Gasly's first points as well, and that's quite a way to score them with a big hole there. Casey, I mean, obviously, like Baker mentioned, I mean, it's not great for Brendan Hartley, is it? After Gasly's finally got this big breakthrough, and Hartley's still kind of waiting for his.
Yeah, I think Hartley really missed opportunity for him in this one. That obviously that incident at the start cost him really badly, but even after that, he should have probably still got points given how high Gasly finished up. Obviously, he finished 13th, I think it was, but there was some kind of penalty as well, I think, that he got for formation laps things as well.
Yeah, down to 17th, basically the last of the classified people after that post-race penalty, so yeah.
Crikey. Yeah, so, but yeah, he crossed the line 13th, which is what was still
Out the
disappointing.
points,
And,
yeah. Out the points, not great compared to Gasly. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you talk about the kind of rest of the midfield? I mean, it was obviously quite a surprise to see Toro Rosso up there. I can't really remember a time where McLaren and Honda were pretty firmly at the front of the midfield. They had the odd race, maybe especially kind of at Hungary. But this was pretty much a front of the midfield on merit from Toro Rosso. So I think a really, really good job from them. We'll see how that one shakes out in China. I very much doubt that they're going to be at the front of the midfield at every race this year. I think it's really going to be chopping and changing. But yeah, Magnussen fifth for Haas, their first points of the year. Hulkenberg, another strong result for Renault. So Bacon, what did you make of those two teams, Haas and Renault, and Magnussen and Hulkenberg having a much better time than their own teammates?
Magnussen, I was scared of the whole race. I wasn't even in a car and I wasn't racing, but I just felt so scared. The way that he drives a car, like, there's probably reasons Magnussen hasn't been towards the front of the field. I'm not dissing himself as a driver. He's very aggressive, and so I'd love to see it. But I just, they must be so scared on that pit wall. I mean, goodness me, some of the moves he tries to pull on drivers, it's scary. Like, even the first lap. Great result for Haas, don't get me wrong. But I think it's what we said in the preview. It's not going to be the car, it will be the drivers. And if he makes more risky kind of opportunistic kind of opportunities that he does do, they won't be scoring many of those kind of results this season, I can assure you. But moving on to Renault and Hulkenberg, yeah, very strong again. I mean, it was obviously massively helped out by the retirements of the Red Bull and Raikkonen, but still solid performance. And he was keeping Alonso, well, he did keep Alonso at bay, I'm pretty sure, that whole race. And it was a bit weird why Alonso came in when Hulkenberg did, because Alonso went on to mediums and everyone thought, oh yeah, one stop. But he came in. It was a bit weird, but yeah, it will do, I suppose, for all those midfield teams, Haas, Renault, McLaren. They're probably going to be looking at that midfield scrap. It is going to be so good to see this year, though.
Casey, what do you make of McLaren? And they're going to start the season. They claim they have the best chefs on the grid, and they're the third quickest Renault customer. Yeah, qualifying especially seems to be a bit of a weakness for them.
Yeah, qualifying's been pretty disastrous. Still haven't actually got a car into Q3, which is worse than the end of last season. They were doing that pretty consistently towards the end of last year. So, yeah, I think that they've had two lucky races, to be honest, and at least they're on that position where they could take advantage of the good luck. But yeah, it's not looking too great for them, especially with Toro Rosso doing really well. They could be ruining this decision because at the moment Renault and Red Bull look to have them covered in terms of pace, which is certainly not what I expected from Renault. So yeah, McLaren will be looking to move forward, and I'm not sure what they've got planned upgrade-wise, but Alonso said it was going to be like 2 months or something before they really wanted to be pushing on to fighting with the top three. But at the moment, that's looking pretty optimistic, I would say.
Yeah, I'm just not believing any of McLaren's claims, to be honest, until they actually deliver on track. I think we've learned that by now. But someone who I think can boast for as long as they want now is Marcus Ericsson, because he scored his first points since the Spanish Grand Prix. Brilliant strategy from Sauber. We've seen this kind of similar strategy from them quite a lot over the past few years, and now it's finally delivered, where basically they just make less pit stops than everyone else, leave Ericsson out there really long, and it finally paid off for Ericsson. So could not be happier for the Sauber team. Great job from the strategist, and of course a great job as well from Marcus Ericsson. Baker, after I think everyone ripped into him, including us pre-season, Ericsson has started the season well.
Yeah, I was probably the main protagonist of Ericsson, absolutely rinsing into him. But I mean, that whole race, that Sauber didn't look half bad, to be honest. It didn't look as bad as what it did in Australia, to be honest. It looked pretty bad in Australia, but it didn't look like it had awful pace in Bahrain. It did make a couple of overtakes as well on I think it was Sergio Perez. He made an overtake on in this kind of mid part of the race, but that's a great result for Ericsson. It really is. It does prove his credentials to stay in the sport as much as anything else. But one result isn't always enough, as one of his long lost colleagues, Felipe Nasr, found out. One result may not save your seat, but it may do a good deal to keep it. A lot of the questions, though, are now on Charles Leclerc. They are I've seen parts of the media go, oh, well, why isn't he, maybe it should have been him. Has that put the pressure on Charles Leclerc because of Ericsson scoring points. Again, it's probably just a strategic position, but yeah, I wouldn't be too worried if I was Leclerc at the moment. It's only his second Grand Prix. He shouldn't be expected to outperform Ericsson. Ericsson now is this his fourth year in the sport, nearly fifth year in the sport. Fifth year. That's pretty shocking. But yeah, it's you shouldn't be too worried. It's just let's see how Sauber develop over the course of the year. I'm sure it may not be their only points this year, but they'll find it very hard to come by the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think a lot like Van Dorn probably when he came into the sport as well. You know, we can't really expect too much from him straight away, but he'll certainly, I think, get up to speed very, very soon. Not that I'm comparing Alonso to Ericsson, but you know, I think that Leclerc will definitely be ahead of Ericsson at least by the midpoint. But we'll keep an eye on that one. Good performance anyway from Ericsson, and as you mentioned, good performance as well from Sauber. Their car is not awful. Speaking of awful cars, Williams, what a disaster for them. I mean, I thought Australia was bad. James Casey, but Bahrain was, as Sergei Sorokin put it, made them look like idiots.
Yeah, and this should have been a good track for them as well, given the Mercedes engine, which even though there isn't that much of an advantage to it anymore, but there is still somewhat an advantage, and obviously a few straights. So you'd think that they would be close, but they were just nowhere, absolutely nowhere all weekend. And yeah, I mean, people will be saying driver lineup is poor, but to be honest, I think with the car, you'd have to have some mighty drivers in that to make Williams look respectable at the moment. Yeah, just a shocking start to the season, and they've got to sort this car out, or they're going to be coming last in the Constructors' Championship, which would be quite incredible given Williams' recent decent seasons that they've been having. I mean, it's not been fantastic, but yeah, a real drop for them, and a lot of work to be done, and it needs to come very, very soon.
Yeah, and I'm struggling to see solutions for them because you look at someone like McLaren, you know, you can kind of see where they could improve. They've got the right people, the right drivers, you know, the Renault Works team as well, Red Bull, all these kind of teams are maybe struggling a little bit. You can kind of see how they're going to improve. But for me, Baker, you know, I kind of struggle to see where Williams are really going to go from here.
Yeah, it's Williams have kept this kind of philosophy on how they built their car over since the hybrid era really introduced itself. It was going to be one of the fastest cars in a straight line, not a lot of downforce on the thing. But this year they kind of, you know, in a way, when we looked at their car and their aggressive approach, as it were, they kind of have gone a bit too far, I think. Don't know what it is about that car, but sometimes it doesn't even look drivable. It looks insane. It just doesn't look right to drive. And honestly, I do fear for Williams because this could be an absolutely shocking season. Absolutely shocking season. They need to pull it out the bag. Tracks like Monza and Baku, we need to see them like properly going for it, these kind of race, because I don't think they're going to have it anywhere else. They're going to be lucky if they do score points this year, to be honest with you. And I'm not sure. I don't think that you're right. It's not the drivers anymore. It is that car. Something is badly wrong there. It needs adjusting quickly as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe at Canada or something, or you know, Baku. I don't know. So I feel like there'd be a crazy race where we'll see Williams up there because you know, I guess last year, if you look at Stroll's performance in isolation, he had very miserable weekends and then was just up there randomly. So maybe when they get that car properly hooked up, it'll be there. It's just weird, isn't it? Because they've gone for a downforce car and it looks an absolute handful and looks like that's no grip. So yeah, they're completely at a loss there. But let's see if they can improve. Early days in the season, 19 races to go. So. Yeah, although let's hope that they can score points. I mean, everyone would have scored points then. But yeah, Force India, they scored their first point as well, courtesy of Esteban Ocon. KC, maybe a bit of a better performance for them compared to Melbourne. Perez would have probably been up there as well without that collision.
Yeah, I think, especially from qualifying as well, they did well there to get a car into Q3. And obviously both of them are ahead of the McLarens. So a lot better for Force India. And still not where they want to be. They never really looked like they were going to be threatening Haas or Toro Rosso over the weekend. But they kind of did an all-right job, and at least they've got now some kind of base to build on, hopefully push on a little bit higher. But yeah, not too bad for them, and a big improvement from Australia, so good signs.
I think that pretty much covers most of the teams. Just a quick word on the kind of pit lane incident with, of course, Kimi Raikkonen. Not great, of course, for the pit guy there. Of course, I think a broken leg pretty much in pretty much two places, I think. So not great for him. Obviously, it looks like he's making a good recovery, but not exactly what we want to see, Baker.
Not really, is it? It's it's the second race in a row where we've had a pit lane incident, and it's not. Nothing needs changing in Formula One in that sense. I don't think there's anything that needs I think there's nothing needs changing. I don't know why there is this assumption that it is too dangerous in the pit lane and they do need to adjust it. And maybe the lollipop was a safest option because at least you've got eyes on it instead of technology controlling it. But these things happen. If you're in the motorsport industry, especially Formula One, you're going to get these kind of incidences. And unfortunately, it's happened to him here. He'll feel very unlucky. But I saw the fine Ferrari proposed, and I kind of thought, it's quite a hefty fine for a broken leg. $50,000. So, yeah, I'm sure the NHS would go down quite well with that one.
Second one of the weekend, though, I think, for Ferrari. So, yeah, not great. Yeah, and like you say, I think we can't really have a knee-jerk reaction to this. It's just kind of everyone's got to be a bit more aware. I mean, bring back the lollipop man or whatever, but I mean, you could still have the same problems there. So, yeah, let's see if they do decide to change anything on that one. Driver of the day, then?
Ericsson.
Oh. No, I'm going to go with Pierre Gasly, just on that effort.
I'll go on Sebastian Vettel for, I think, his best victory with Ferrari, I would say.
Oh.
I'd have to have a proper think about that one, but that's just kind of...
Yeah, I think it probably is.
Yeah, probably, isn't it? Let's have a look across to China, the next round of the season. Obviously, usually quite a good track for Lewis Hamilton, so possibly we're going to be seeing Mercedes' first win of the season here. Baker?
Yeah. I mean, Mercedes traditionally looked quite strong around this track. To be fair, most teams haven't looked too bad around China in recent years, but Mercedes do look like the ones to beat going into that weekend, and they need a performance because everyone at the start of the year, we probably include in that as well, oh, Mercedes will probably walk this title or whatever. Maybe not walk it, but they were going to have a slight challenge, but not too much. This year, so far, Ferrari have won both races, and it's not even been awful races for Mercedes. They've just nailed the strategy in a way, Ferrari, most of these races. Okay, a bit of luck in Australia, but I mean, Bahrain especially, it's just tyre conservation for Vettel. It needs to be a big race. And to be honest, it needs to be a big race for Lewis Hamilton, as many people would probably agree with, hopefully. He does need a win now just to solidify this championship battle that hopefully we will see over the course of the season.
Casey, what are you expecting from China?
Yeah, I tend to think this will be where Mercedes really kickstart a season because in China in the past they've been really, really strong. They've looked unbeatable since the start of the hybrid era, basically. So yeah, I think that this will be where they really kickstart a season. I don't think it's a disaster for them yet. They've had two races which they should have won Australia and they could have won Bahrain. So they're not in a really bad position. So I think that they'll get their season kick-started in China, but it's not like it's a disaster if they don't. But it would just be interesting to see whether Red Bull can finally get a clean weekend, and then we can finally see where they are in this battle. But I get the impression they're a little bit behind, so I think that we'll see Ferrari still the second best team quite comfortably.
Fair enough. I think they're going quite close in the race. Certainly in qualifying, I think they'll be third best. But watch out for them in the race here. But I think especially in like Baku, Barcelona, Monaco, maybe even we could really see them in play. So yeah, like you say, hopefully we'll get all three of the top teams with a clean race and just see how it goes. But yeah, I think firmly Mercedes favourites for China. But we probably thought that for Bahrain as well. So let's wait and see on that one. I think that pretty much rounds out our episode. So we've got MotoGP podcast coming up. We've got one on the WRC as well this week. Got the Absolute Forums as well. Plenty of discussion going on there, of course, after two, very controversial weekend in F1 and MotoGP. So plenty of discussion going on there. Yeah, we will see you guys next time. So thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.